Welcome to the Retirement Evolved podcast with certified financial fiduciary Adam Bruno.
Yeah.
And we are back, everybody.
I missed you, Bill.
Yeah, I know. You were... Yeah, but you know, you got to do family things, man. You got to take care of the fam.
That's right.
And off at Disney World for a week, but we are back to talk about things retirement related, how to make sure you're ready for retirement, how to make sure you are set up to get through retirement, and all these things that are affecting all that money you've put away for retirement. I'm Bill Seller, along with Adam Bruno, private wealth manager, and also founder, CEO, and as far as I know, head of the tennis club at Evolution Retirement Services. And we get together a lot here and just to talk about exactly that. And, you know, what I love about our talks, Adam, is, and I think what makes us a little bit different is that, you know, we're not here to sell stuff. We're just here to chat, inform people, and let them know what's going on. And before we get into that today, since you are listening, I do want to ask you nicely if you wouldn't mind clicking on the like, subscribe, follow, whatever the button says on your podcast player. We're building the audience, and we would love for you to be a part of it every week. So when you click that button, you'll know when we have a new podcast coming your way. And we'd love to have you be a part of it and help us grow a little bit. So, again, Bill Seller along with Adam Bruno, certified fiduciary and founder president of Evolution Retirement Services. And
yes, and you know, Bill, I wanted to jump in and just add to that point when you said, you know, people really like our podcast, and that's the compliments that I'm getting. It's almost like we peel back the curtain a little bit on this industry, and that's what people kind of enjoy the most about it. It's not salesy. It's just it's informative, and I think that's so important with the ground that we're standing on whenever we talk about finances today. It's such a shaky ground, and it leads to a lot of problems sometimes. With salesmen.
And you know, just so if you're listening for the first time, I'm not a financial guy. I'm just a radio guy. I'm here to learn as much as you are, basically, is what I'm saying. So Adam's the expert. I'm just here to make sure that we keep things moving along and just to, you know, learn as much as I can every time we get together. Before we do get rolling into the meat of this week, though, wanted to ask you, Adam, we got a couple of ways that we could go here. You want to go cars or you want to go food?
Listen, I think we should go both really quick because, you know, I love it. I love it.
All right. So let's go cars.
Okay.
And apparently, for now, Dodge is saying goodbye to the Challenger and the Charger, and they're ending production of those cars in 2023. And this is all because they're transitioning to electric cars. The automaker says an electric muscle car, which seems really weird to me, is coming out in 2024. But for now, they're going to end the production of the Challenger and the Charger. So if you love those cars, you may want to grab one before the end of next year.
You know, I was a little disappointed with this because it's just like you just said. You know, the muscle car aspect of it. So does this mean we're actually going to have some sound? Because, you know, my wife has the Tesla Model X, and it's kind of cool because you can change the sounds in the car. Like you turn your turn signal on, it sounds like somebody passing gas or something. There's a lot of cool things you can do.
Sure.
Are they actually going to come up with a sound?
Adam. Sure, we'll blame it on the turn signal.
It's the turns. I swear it's the turn signal. Are they going to come up with like a really cool sound that the car makes? I mean, how do you replace that sound that everybody wants to hear? And to your point, you know, I'll do you one better with the car thing. It's getting to a point now. I know California just passed a law that in 2035, they're not even all cars have to be electric that you buy from that point forward.
What if you're driving through California?
Right, and I got to think that they're probably just saying anything that you buy from that point on, you know, brand new. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm just thinking, wow. I mean, that's a really strong statement to make.
It's California. Do we really know how anything works?
I don't plan on driving through there a lot, you know.
So anyway, you can say goodbye to the Challenger and the Charger at the end of next year. And you also dug up a couple of food things because I know you and we like to talk food.
Oh, we love the food, yeah. I did try the Doritos, by the way.
Oh, did you?
They were actually not bad.
Okay. The ketchup one or the spicy
ketchup,
mustard?
Both of the spicy one was great. The ketchup one, I was a little bit more, you know, but I tried it and it was actually pretty good. I can't complain. I thought it was good.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having that follow-up for us. So I'm not sure about this one, man. Oscar Mayer is now making wiener popsicles.
Oh, God.
Yeah. They're now selling what they're calling cold dogs. And yes, they really do taste like a hot dog topped with mustard.
Oh.
Right now they're test marketing in Atlanta, New Orleans, Manhattan, and Los Angeles, but supposedly a frozen thing that tastes like a hot dog topped with mustard.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know if I can go for wow, you just don't normally associate those two things together. You know, that's kind of that's a little strange for me. I'm I'm out on that one. For those reasons, I'm out.
Yeah, and if you know me, there's not a whole lot I say no to as far as food goes, but that may have to be one of them. And also, the Girl Scout cookie season is coming, and there's a new one for next year. Get ready for Raspberry Rally. They're calling it a sister cookie to the Thin Mint, which is my favorite. I stick a box in the freezer, and they're so good that way.
Oh, they are good in the freezer. I
Yes.
do that with my Reese's too.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter actually told me about this raspberry Thin Mint. She talked about it because it's supposed to be like vegan food too now, and
Yeah.
I was kind of confused about that because it's got chocolate in it. So I don't know how they're doing that.
Well, it's a vegan cookie. It's a chocolate coating with raspberry stuff on the inside. So there you go, man. A little food update for you. And before you realize it, you won't be able to eat them in your Challenger or Charger. So all these things are happening at one time.
Warren has a Challenger and he loves it to death. So I haven't broken the news yet to him, but I'm going to have to tell him about that. That's going to be a shame.
Yeah, if you can wait till I leave the room, I'd appreciate it.
I will do that. Yes, that's
he cries easily, and I hate to watch that.
He really does. I don't understand it with him.
So-
He's so emotional.
So as we get into the meat of why we actually get together here, Adam and I were just talking before we got going on the podcast about different ways that you can save for retirement. And I know that you wanted to talk about annuities today. Because
I do, and it's such a dirty word, Bill. I can hear people cringing as we say it.
Yeah, people hear about them. It's kind of like men asking for directions. You hear about it, but you don't really understand it.
Right.
I know that you wanted to clear things up today because you've had a lot of folks ask you about them, especially during these tough times.
I did, Bill, and it came from the heart, because the reality is we could spend an hour talking about exactly what annuities are, what they do, but what I'm more concerned about is the amount of people that will receive mail. They'll receive an invitation in the mail to go to, Ruth Chris or one of these steak or something like that, and they'll get a presentation on annuities, and that will happen. And I'm concerned about that because you always tend to see very similar types of people that go to those events. But with the way the market is right now, it's created just enough fear that people don't know what to do. So more people are now starting to go to these events. And there is a problem with this. One of the problems, and it's not with the annuities themselves, it's with the presenters. It's with the firms or the financial professional that's presenting it to you. A lot of the times, that financial professional or that financial advisor, air quotes, is not necessarily licensed to do anything else except sell annuities. So annuities are not good or bad. It's a tool in the toolbox, right? And we'll get into what they are and how they work. But essentially what I'm more concerned with is this type of, it's like a feeding frenzy now. The salesmen are coming out of the woodwork when the market is down. I'm on a couple of these groups on Facebook, on a couple of these financial groups, and some of these financial advisors are so excited that the market's down because that means that more people are going to buy annuities because they want the safety now. So people are actually excited about the market being down. People like you and I look at this and we come at it from a cerebral point where what do we do? How do we fix this? How can people still meet their goals? Everybody else's answer is, okay, well, we could sell them an annuity. The market's down. It's a great time to buy an annuity. So that's why I really wanted to talk about that today. And I wanted to just kind of lay out some basic things that you want to watch out for. And some basic, obviously, if you have more questions, obviously call us. I have no problem talking to anybody about this. This is how I broke into this business. So, just really from the heart, it kind of came to me that we should probably do something that just educates people on what they should look out for.
Well, yeah. And matter of fact, I've heard of them. I don't really understand them, but I also know that it's a different way to save for retirement. Yes, but it can cost you a lot up front. I mean, and again, I'm asking, I don't know.
Sure. So here's where it costs you money. There's a couple different types of annuities. For our purposes today, let's talk about some of the three biggest types that people are normally sold. One of the biggest types of annuities out there, especially in northern states, is the variable annuity. Now, the variable annuity, it's very simple. You give them a chunk of money, and inside of that variable annuity, there are accounts that are designed just like mutual funds. So there's different funds that you can invest in inside of that annuity. Now, each one of those funds can have a cost of anywhere from 0.5% all the way up to 1.5%, depending on the funds. So you have that internal cost that you're still paying inside of the annuity in order to invest in those accounts. They're called sub-accounts. And then you also have some guarantees that the variable annuity will provide you. And that's very simple to understand. They're going to guarantee you a certain amount of your money, whether the market goes up or down. You're going to still have that amount of your money promised you from the insurance company. So if you give the insurance company, because all annuities are issued by insurance companies, that's who issues them.
Okay.
So if you give and they all have time limits, right? Anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years. There's some annuities out there that are 12 to 15 years annuities. God help us, but there are some that exist like that. So if you try to take your money out before that time is up, you're usually able to get a certain percentage out without paying any fees. So up to 10%. So if you put $500,000 in, you always have access to $50,000, okay, without paying any penalties. But what ends up happening and where you could lose money is if you decide in 2 or 3 years that this isn't working and you want your money back, you're going to pay a 10 or a 9 or an 8% surrender fee to get all that money back. So if there's $400,000 left and you want it all back, now you're going to pay another 10 or 9 or 8% to get that money out. So you're losing that much more money. The other way we lose money is because when the market doesn't perform, just like it hasn't been performing in the last year and a half now, you're still paying your fees inside of that annuity. So not only is your money going down, but the fees that you're paying are also coming out. So now you got that kind of reverse dollar cost averaging thing going on.
So
that
basically,
costs people a lot of money.
I don't mean to jump in. So what you're telling me is I'm paying money to lose money.
Correct. And
wow.
Now in good years, it can work out very well. But the reason that annuities are sold so much is because they resemble that perfect investment, right? Especially variable annuities. It's a perfect investment because the insurance company is never going to let you have less than $500,000 in that contract. But as you see your account values decrease, the money that you could actually just come back in and take out is decreasing, right? So nobody really explains that or understands that. If the insurance company is telling you your death benefit's always going to be $500,000, and we're going to give you $500,000 no matter what, they're saying either your beneficiaries are going to get it when you die, or we're going to pay you an income stream. And we're going to base your income stream on that $500,000 number. So you're really still paying yourself your own money, but you're actually watching your physical cash in that policy go down in situations like this.
Wow.
Does that make sense? Because you're the layman here. I want to make sure that I'm kind of clearing this up.
Yeah, no, sadly it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Sadly, I understand exactly what you're saying. So that's the variable rate one.
Yeah, the variable, and you know what? It's not uncommon. I've seen fees on variable annuities. They range from anywhere from 3 to 5% that people are giving up each year because it's like going to a steakhouse. If you want to have a death benefit, they're going to make you pay extra for the death benefit. If you want to have broccoli with your steak, if you go to a nice steakhouse, everything's a la carte, right? So you're going to have to pay extra for the broccoli. So it's the same concept here. So the more that you pay for inside of that annuity, the more comes out each year in those fees. So I have seen them really high. And for retirees, it's not normally a good idea. If you have, obviously if you're younger and you have 20 or 30 years inside of this variable annuity, the chances are you're going to do very well. But nobody buys variable annuities when they're that young, right? I mean, most of the people that have the money are the retirees or the people that are getting ready to retire. So who's going to end up buying those annuities? The retirees are.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Actually, is there a good time to do it if I'm younger or in my 30s? But then when I started out this conversation with you, I said the problem is they're kind of expensive. You don't have that kind of cash at that age.
Right. Nobody has that big lump sum cash. I've seen people that put, $10 or $15 or $20,000 a year into a variable annuity, and they do it over time, which is fine. But you're still not going to get that big push like you would if you had a big lump sum to invest. So, again, it's just a question of variable annuities for the retirees. It's a very tough road for them to actually make some money.
And the bottom line is that you could easily just sell anybody who asks for them an annuity because it's an easy thing to do. You would make a great commission. However, I know you pretty well, and that's not the way that you operate.
Correct. And, let's go back to this commission thing. That commission, and we're going to peel back the curtain a little bit. These other advisors out there that are not duly licensed, that don't offer investments and insurance products, the commission is how they make their living. So they have how do I put this? They have a greater dog in the fight by kind of selling the products that have the higher commissions, right? And how do you know that that's the best one for you just because it has a higher commission? I told you before, a 12-year annuity pays a really, really high commission, but now you've just effectively locked up your family's money for 12 years, right? So that's really a hard thing to get past, this idea of, well, if you're really looking out for my best interest, why am I buying the highest commission product? And that's why, peeling back the curtain a little bit, Bill, I would advise everybody who's listening to this, if you're considering an annuity, make them show you the commission schedule. Every family that we do annuities with, they know exactly what they're paying. And the best line any insurance person has is, well, you're not paying me anything. It's the insurance company that's paying me. That doesn't matter. I'm giving you $500,000. I want to know how much you're making, and what your justification was for putting me into this product, right?
Right.
So you can ask those questions. And that was what the Dole was meant to be. The Dole Act was meant to kind of, especially with retirement accounts, it was meant to weed this out and make it so that, consumers and families, before they bought an insurance product, were shown exactly how their advisor is compensated, and that should never be a problem to have that conversation. And talking about commissions, there's an annuity out there that nobody is talking about right now that does a very good job for clients. It's very simple, but it only pays a 1 or a 2% commission. That's why nobody talks about it. It's called a multi-year guaranteed annuity. And this is very simple. It's like the insurance company is issuing you a CD. It's just like getting a CD at the bank, except you're going through the insurance company. For 5 years or 3 years, whatever the term is, a 5-year multi-year guaranteed annuity right now pays 4.25%. Actually, they just went up a little bit. They're almost 4.5%. Guaranteed compounded growth over that 5 years. A 3-year pays 4%. And it's just that simple. It's compounding growth. There's no fees, and the return is guaranteed by the insurance carrier. So those are great, except that they don't pay a high commission, so nobody's going to talk to you about them, right, Bill?
What were they called again?
They're called multi-year guaranteed annuities. Not a lot of people will offer them because they don't have a high commission. An advisor who sells them is going to make 1% on selling that product. So for them, they much rather pick something else and sell them something else.
But it's a good deal for me as a retiree.
Oh, absolutely. If especially with cash right now being so heavy, we talked about this a few podcasts ago. Cash is so heavy right now. A lot of people have cash and they don't know what to do. So the idea is, why not just buy a MYGA for 3 years? Get yourself 4% for 3 years. It's better than nothing right now, right?
Yeah.
But they're not going to hear a lot about it because the commissions are so low. And that's why when you look at MYGAs online, multi-year guaranteed annuities, and you Google information, you won't find one lick of bad press on a MYGA. It won't happen. There's not anything bad out there about them other than the fact that, you locked in 4.25%. You could have been doing better in the market. No, nobody wants to hear that right now. I just want something guaranteed and safe. So you won't find any bad press because there's not a lot of people that are talking about them because they're not getting paid.
Wow. Short of stuffing cash in your mattress because you don't trust the banks or anything else, that doesn't sound like a bad option, really.
Right. And then, the other thing about annuities that everybody always jumps on, my first mentor in this business, love him to death. He was adamant because he was in his 70s when we started working together. He was adamant that people were going to need future sustainable income sources. And to a certain extent, he's absolutely right. We don't think about income enough in our retirement. We think about how much money we have in the accounts and what our bottom line is, right? We're not thinking about how do we have sustainable income at this point. So he was a big proponent of people buying fixed indexed annuities and buying what's called an income rider with those fixed index annuities, which means that you could never really lose any of your money in a fixed indexed annuity because you're getting a percentage of what the market goes up. For example, if you have an S&P 500 index, right now there's an 8% cap on that index. So you get everything up to 8% that the S&P does when it goes up. But if the S&P is down 10%, you don't lose anything. You stay flat. Well, the problem is we're depending on an insurance company to pay us an income stream from our own money. So we add a 1% fee to that product. And now we have the ability after 5 or 10 years or however long it is to pay ourselves an income stream that we can't outlive. So we're going to live the rest of our lives, no matter what happens to our money inside that annuity. The insurance company is going to continue to stroke us that check every year, right? My problem with that is most of the time insurance companies, they don't offer a very big percentage on that. So if you have $500,000 in there, they might give you a 4.5% cash flow on that $500,000 for the rest of your life. You're still paying yourself with your money. All you're doing is insuring it on the back end. So if that $500,000 is ever gone, the insurance company will continue to write that check every year. So to me, I don't know whether it's worth it to put parameters on insurance products like that, because with our experience, Kurt and I have always been able to provide a 4 to a 4.5% cash flow. Heck, right now we can do a 10% cash flow. But, to give the insurance company all of your money and basically say, okay, here's $500,000. Now write me a check for the rest of my life. That's still you spending down your money. Is there a better way for you to be able to spend down your money than giving it to an insurance company? Those are always thoughts that run through our head. Yeah. So.
Yeah, because what are we talking at 4.5% on 500? About $23,000 a year.
I think it's 4.5% on, just say 500,000, right? And say they're going to give you 4.5%. Let's just say 5%. That's $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So.
And now that $500,000 is gone because you're providing yourself an income stream. That's the thing about income riders that everybody always confuses. The income rider doesn't mean that your $500,000 is safe and the insurance company is going to pay you $25,000 a year and you're going to keep your $500,000. No, you're going to continue to spend your $500,000 down. That $25,000 includes your own money in there. So, that's not the idea. A lot of people get sold on these income products thinking, well, if I just get $25,000 and I've got $500,000 in there, I'll still have my $500,000, and you won't. You'll be spending it down.
And remind me, I'm sorry, because I'm trying to keep track of all the numbers, but there is a chance though that while you have that, it is growing in some way, right? Did you mention that?
Normally, it grows enough to they'll normally grow anywhere from 3 to 4% per year on an average 10-year basis.
Okay, it's
still not enough with what you're taking out.
Right. Okay.
So my solution to that, and I tell everybody about this, is right now we have newer options that were never available before in the private wealth world in the form of what are called barrier notes. And it's this simple. A large institution, Chase, there's tons of them. There's tons of large financial institutions that prepare these. We go directly to the institutions and we tell them we want to build a barrier note. And the barrier we want is 30%. And we want that tied directly to the S&P 500. So as long as the S&P 500 doesn't go down more than 30%, we're going to continue to make 10% on our money. So think about this. So now we put $500,000 in a barrier note. As long as the S&P 500 doesn't go down more than 30%, they're going to pay us $50,000 that year over a 12-month period. So that's almost $5,000 a month, right? It's $4,100 or something like that per month. So $4,100 a month for the year. And then at the end of the year, we still have our $500,000. So yes, the S&P 500 could go down more than 30%, but all that means is for that month, we don't get our $4,100. But at the end of it, the goal is to provide us an income stream, but still have our big chunk of money at the end, still have that original $500,000 at the end, which you can't really do at all in the annuity world. There's all kinds of different parameters and language. It's a contract. You're signing a contract with the insurance company. Now, that being said, not all annuities are bad investments for people. The way that they're normally sold though is in that variable way where you can still invest your money and make money. The variable annuity is great. That we know that that's not true. There's a lot of fees in there. Or the fixed index annuity with the income rider where they say, okay, well, we'll pay you an income stream for the rest of your life. Well, I don't know if that's the right fit either. You're losing your flexibility with your money when you make those types of decisions. The MYGA is a great option. I can't say anything bad about MYGAs at all. That's just that you're not going to hear a lot about them because people can't make any money when they sell them to you. Now, here's another thought though. If you take the income rider off the fixed indexed annuity, you have a really strong tool there because there's no more fees now. Now you have an 8% participation of the S&P 500, right? So if the S&P 500 goes up 10%, you're still going to make 8. But you didn't pay a fee and you didn't pay anything to do that, and your money is completely safe. In that situation, when a fixed indexed annuity doesn't have a fee and you still have some really good room for growth, all you're basically doing is growing your money. You're using it like a bond alternative at that point. So you're not paying anything. It's impossible for you to lose money in that situation. And they have a 5 to a 6% return over a 10-year period. So that's a good option. I just don't think you need to pay the fees to do any of those things, right? You don't need to pay the extra fees.
Absolutely. And this is all good stuff to know, because I've heard about annuities. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I've heard about annuities, and, I know that they came through insurance companies. I know that insurance companies are not fond of actually giving money away and giving it back to people, right? I had a friend who was an insurance agent once, and he just says, insurance is, you're just gambling that nothing's going to go bad.
Right.
Right.
And I told you this before, I have a lot of term policies, knock on wood, nothing happens. But I bought term because it's a lot less expensive and I get a lot more coverage.
Right.
And it's only good for a certain amount of time. But I know right away that I have an 88% chance that I'm going to outlive those term policies and that money's going to be gone. Well, you know what? I didn't spend a lot of money on it. I got them when I was young. I did it smart. So I have a lot of policies in place in case anything happens to me. But I certainly wasn't going to go out there and spend, $15,000, $20,000 a year on whole life policies or things like that. All I really needed was the tool. The tool part of it was, if something happens to Adam, Adam's got 4 kids and his wife that they need to be taken care of, and the businesses. So we needed as much coverage as we could get, and Adam didn't want to spend the money and waste it on something that he knew he might not need after another 20 years.
Well, Adam sounds like a smart guy. So now you
caught me talking about myself in the third person. I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it's fun when I point it out to people, though. So when it comes to annuities, and the bottom line really is that if you're already in retirement, probably not your best option. However, if you're young and you have the money, which, congratulations, it might not be as much of a bad decision when you're younger.
No, I think the best point about this is we use annuities all the time with our families. It's just that you don't need to put your entire amount of money. We use annuities the same percentage that families probably would have had in bonds. That's what we use annuities for, really. The rest of the money is still invested in the market, albeit with different strategies, with preservation and growth being at the core, right? Not super growth, and if we lose a little bit, then we'll get it back. No, we preserve and grow. That's our mission, right? So I would tell you, Bill, that I feel like annuities have a space in really anyone's portfolio, especially retirees. I just don't think that they're being told about the right annuities, and I don't think that it's happening in a way that's in their best interest a lot of the times. Because I'll do you one better. There are companies out there. All the insurance companies do this when you talk about annuities. The more annuity business you give to one insurance company, the higher your compensation starts to become. So if you're talking to any advisor and they say, well, you should look at this annuity company, let's just say you should look at, North American. They're good. They're a great company. North American pays a progressive commission. So the more business you produce with them, the more they pay you. So if that person is only doing North American, whose best interest is really in their mind at that point? Because it's not the person they're sitting in front of. I mean, what if Lincoln had better rates at that? And that's happened a couple times this year. We've switched from Lincoln to North American to Allianz there's a couple of different companies. Now, the top ones are always going to be the top ones. But when I say the rates that the clients receive are going to change. Some companies are going to be lower. Some companies are going to be higher. And it shouldn't matter what the commission rate is. It should matter what the rate is for the client and what rates they're getting on those annuities. So that's not happening right now. I don't see that happening a lot in our industry. I know for a fact that there's many advisors out there who place all the business with the same company. And when you really dive into that, are you doing that because that's what's best for your client, or are you doing that because you're getting a couple extra percentage points on your commission?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? And like you said earlier in the podcast, too, those are questions you should never be afraid to ask, right? Because when somebody's handling your money, it's how they make a living. So find out how much are they making from you versus how much you're actually going to be making with the investment that they're trying to get you to agree to. And
Bill, I can't. And the perfect example of that is you'll talk to a lot of people and you'll even say the word annuity. They'll be like, no, and they'll start. And the problem isn't with the annuity itself. It's with whoever tried to sell them the annuity before, or whatever annuity they were put in before that didn't meet their needs. And that's the problem. It's such a thin line to walk, right? So that's right. I can't say enough about that. You have to ask questions. You have to.
Yep.
And don't be afraid to hear it out, but ask the questions later on. Yes, that annuity might be, you make all your noise in it. That might be, it's horrible. It could be. But, are you really willing to turn your back on any tool that could get you to where you need to go, right? You, the consumer, you, the retiree. If it's a tool that's going to get you to where you need to go, and it's used in the hands of a fiduciary, it's a completely different scenario than going to a dinner and sitting down and hearing about this great annuity. And I struggle with that myself, Bill. You know, we meet people through the podcast. We meet people through television. We meet people through our client events. And yes, we meet people through workshops that I host. I don't call them seminars because I don't talk about investments hardly at all inside of our workshops. Our workshops are very informational. But if we sit down in front of somebody and we're a good fit to work together, I'm not afraid to use annuities as bond alternatives if that's what helps them get to where they need to go. What I would be afraid of is somebody who's only willing to use one company or one strategy. If they're only going to sell annuities, then I'm a little bit hesitant. You know, well, what about the market? Because we need a little bit of everything in our portfolio.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, as far as asking questions, if you have any, you can call Adam and the team at Evolution Retirement Services. Let me throw the number at you real quick. It's 866-838-3765, 866-838-3765, or find out more at evolutionretirementservices.com. Also, be sure to check out their other big website that really has a lot of information on it, and that is taxfreefortmyers.com, tax-free FORT Myers.com. And you can find the podcast on there. You can find Adam's book that he wrote. It's called They Lied, The Real Cost of Your Retirement, which answers the question of, why didn't I know about this when you get to retirement? And a lot of other things on there as well.
You know, I love the book so much, Bill, because we've said this so many times before. I'm going to say it again. I sound like a broken record. It was meant to start the conversation, and boy, has it started conversations. You know, it's great. You know, we have our, I think Byron Daniels down here, one of our representatives. He is actually talking about the Medicare problem right now. You know, I went to one of his meetings at one of our clients. He went to the community that the clients lived in, and they invited us, and I just went and sat as a Joe Blow in the crowd. You know, it gave me hope for what we're dealing with, you know, in our political environment right now, when we have politicians that are finally ready to start talking about those issues, especially the ones that are in the book. I gave them a copy of the book. I said, hey, listen, this was great. You know, I finally actually, I have a little bit of confidence in our country again with our politicians. So, and obviously, yes, you know, they say what they need to say, but I just had hope that the conversation was started, you know.
Well, and of course, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 has been passed, so, you know, that will help with Medicare. And Medicaid.
Oh, God. You know, it's funny. He brought that up, and, you know, how many drugs did they say were in that thing? You know, in the bill, they said something about multiple drugs being available for free now, baked into that bill somewhere. He showed us that it's actually only like two or three types of medication.
Right.
There's not even a lot of medication on that list. And then he was able to trace the money back to exactly who was making the money, and it's, you know, one company making all the money. Right. So it's crazy. And I bet if we dug a little bit deeper, Nancy Pelosi's husband is one of the chief, while he's not being busted for DUI, he's one of the chief he's one of the chief investors there or something. You know, you always follow the money. I tell my kids that all the time.
Yeah.
Just follow the money. If you want to talk about politics, follow it. You'll see exactly what's happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, Adam, I can't tell you how much fun this podcast has been today. And, you know, I think a lot of people needed to hear all that information about annuities, about what they can be, what they can't, you know, what they might not be, what to watch out for. And again, if you want to find out more about them and you have questions, call Adam at 866-838-3765. Always a pleasure to get together with you. I was going to say I'm going to run out and grab that Oscar Mayer popsicle, but I just can't. I can't bring myself to say
Bill,
it.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
I
can't do it. No,
I'm just sitting here thinking, no, not Bill. They're going to get Bill. No, you know, Bill. The other thing about this is the last thing I have to say about annuities and investments and Medicare, everything else that we talk about, everything is a tool, and it needs to be treated as such. So it's like going to a doctor and knowing that doctor is able to handle any situation, you know, a specialist, right? You go to a regular doctor and you have a broken arm, he's going to send you to an orthopedic surgeon. It's the same thing. You want whoever you're dealing with in retirement to be able to have the experts or the tools in the toolbox to be able to help you meet your goals. So just keep an open mind and ask questions. That's what I think that's the biggest advice I can give to anyone. Keep an open mind and ask questions.
There you go. Adam, always a pleasure, my friend.
Yes, sir. I can't wait to talk to you again next week.
Thank you so much, and thank you for listening to our podcast. And once again, real quick, before we head out of here, please hit like, subscribe, follow, whatever your button says on your podcast player. We would really, really appreciate it.
Investment advisory services are offered through Evolution Wealth Management Incorporated, an investment advisor registered with the state of Florida. Registration does not imply any level of skill or training. Evolution Wealth Management's unique CRD number is 307644. You can obtain a copy of Evolution Wealth Management's firm brochure, Form ADV Part 2A, free of charge by visiting advisorinfo.sec.gov. Evolution Wealth Management offers investment advisory services only, where it is appropriately registered or exempt from registration, and only after clients have entered into an investment advisory agreement confirming the terms of engagement and have been provided a copy of the firm's ADV Part 2A. Insurance services are provided by Evolution Retirement Services. Any guarantees mentioned are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and may be subject to restrictions, limitations, or early withdrawal fees, which vary by the issuer. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. You should consider the charges, risks, expense, and investment objectives carefully before entering a contract. This material has been prepared for informational purposes only and should not be construed as a solicitation to affect or attempt to affect either transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. This material is not intended to provide and should not be relied on for tax, legal, accounting, or other financial advice. Evolution Wealth Management and Evolution Retirement Services do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, and accounting advisors before engaging in any transaction. Evolution Wealth Management and Evolution Retirement Services are affiliated entities.